Did you know you can play some Jackbox games all by yourself? Yep, despite being party packs, the folks up at Jackbox Games left some options for those of us who are only really able to play with... yeah.
They don't even have thumbs.
A bit of backstory. Jackbox Games themselves have actually been around for a super long time in terms of the internet. Founded all the way back in '89 as Learn Television. It won't surprise any frequent players of the party packs to learn that the company started by making trivia games with the precursor to their well-known You Don't Know Jack series, That's a Fact, Jack, a funky little CD game aimed at students to help them stay brushed up on their trivia. After a couple decades of making You Don't Know Jack with an angsty teenager Facebook gaming page known as Jellyvision Labs, Jackbox took their expertise in making bite-sized games to Steam, launching their flagship series, the Jackbox Party Pack. Before I go any further, I'm just going to super quick say thank you to everybody who supported me over the years. In collaboration with my friend Egg, we're doing a giveaway of some Steam keys in relation to a charity drive we did back in October. Costs you nothing to join. Link is in the description below. Now back to the party pack. The first one came out on November 26th, 2014, setting up a lot of what we'd be able to expect from a party pack. 5 games of varying quality you could sit down and play with your family from the comfort of your couch. A feature I like about the first one is that the settings menu has instructions on how to play the party packs. In the more recent ones, you can literally just scan a QR code to get into the game, so it's weird seeing how back in the day they needed to spell it out. Moving on from the simple audio and resolution slider, we have the namesake of the company. You Don't Know Jack 2015 is a continuation of Jackbox's main series up until this point, You Don't Know Jack. The game itself contains 50 episodes, 10 questions each, but before you can start, we've got to thank our sponsor.
Whoa, dude! What the f*** are you eating, man?
Just some f***ing baby carrots, bro.
Whoa! But they look like big carrots, only way f***ing smaller.
That's just f***ing it. I don't have time to f***ing eat an adult f***ing carrot, but with baby carrots, I can pop one in and be on my way.
No f***ing way.
Baby carrots. They're so f***ing tiny.
The single player does something fun where you can just answer the questions using your keyboard instead of signing in with your phone. It didn't really work with me pressing the buttons, so I just clicked on the screen. Most questions work as such. After a genre-themed introduction of the number,
okay, let's see what happens.
you're given a question. The wording is usually weird, but it'll make sense when you see the answers. The whole point is that the questions are intentionally weird.
What adorable rat accessory would you not need to purchase? A tiny glass of scotch for a rat Dean Martin? A tiny cigarette for a rat Joey Bishop? A tiny pipe for a rat Bob Hope? Or a tiny bow tie for a rat Sammy Davis Jr.?
After clicking on your answer, you gain or lose points based on how fast you locked in said answer. Faster you click, the more points you can get. These normal questions usually end up getting broken up by special rounds, such as
Next. Score loser, and it's time to chalk up one dis or dat.
In this episode's dis or dat, you have to sort between whether
you win by getting the highest score, or you win by getting the lowest score.
You get $300 for every right answer, and a bonus based on how quick you submit. Another special round is the very silly name of which is like a regular question, but those are the 4 possible answers.
Spider-Man has actually had 2 villains named the Kangaroo, both of them mostly just good at jumping.
After all 10 questions are answered, you're brought to the finale, a matching game called the Jack Attack. The clue in the center gets bigger as more and more matching options fly by. You've just got to buzz in first when you think they match up. If you get it right, you get a cool 2,000 points. At the end of it all, you get a score and stats telling you how your logged name has done overall. And then the credits scroll gets interrupted by another ad.
I just showered, but I still smell kind of funky.
Did you remember to clean your entire body?
Well, I mean, I tried, but there are so many body parts to remember.
That's why you need the shower list.
The shower list?
A helpful list of all your body parts that need to be cleaned.
It's just a little piece of paper.
Yes, but it's waterproof.
So I can take it in the shower. Let's see, I washed that, I washed those. Okay, yeah, I forgot my butt.
Overall, You Don't Know Jack is a bit crude for my taste nowadays. I was 12 when this party pack came out, so I'm sure I found it a lot funnier back then. And, you know, I like trivia games. I thought this was a fun, cheesy experience. If you really want a jumping on point for the party packs, I don't think I'd recommend the first one, given how far they've come. Especially since the other single-player game for this pack is... Y'all like Snapple facts? Swatter is interesting in that it supported 100 people playing in the first pack. I don't know if anybody has ever actually gotten enough people in the same room together to see if that works, but it's cool that it's there, I guess. The game is incredibly simple. You get 7 topics in a round and are given a bit of information about said topic. Then all you have to do is click on your screen to guess if said info is true or false. Everybody submits, the fly gets smashed, and then points are rewarded. You get a little bit of extra information if the info turns out to be true, but that is basically all this game has to offer. The third round at least mixes it up a little bit by making all 7 questions about the same topic, but that's really it. It is by far the shortest Jackbox game I've ever played. I think it only took me like 5 minutes. If anything, it makes me happy that later games got complicated. Like, way more complicated. Representing Pack 2, we have... You play as a group of office workers who defuse bombs, which could be anything from miscellaneous desk items to... bombs. How the game normally works is one player is randomly chosen as the diffuser. They have to use the instructions distributed equally amongst all players in order to not get everybody killed. When you're playing by yourself, you do end up getting all the instructions, but the pages are distributed in a random order. So you can't just read top to bottom because there are some that are context sensitive to other pages. The game is broken up into 2 modes. The job is story mode. You've got specific tasks to complete each day that gradually increase in difficulty, being split up by little cutscenes talking about how the workday is going.
Everybody's cold in the office, right? We need to fix that thermostat.
Each set of bombs has a timer you're working against. Defuse it fast enough and you get additional points towards getting a potential 3-star ranking on every single day, which is really nice considering the game doesn't have a point system. The other mode we've got to play is the grind, which is an endless mode that takes bombs you've encountered in the story and randomly throws them at you. You start off with 90 seconds and get more time as you defuse more bombs. For the standard 4-wire bomb, you get 15 seconds, and doing more and more complicated bombs gives you additional time. Your only issue when it comes to running out of time is going to be if you're playing with multiplayer, because if you're a solo player, you're more likely to die due to simply being illiterate.
5. Third number is directly above the first number, and the fourth number is that'd be 2. It was not 2.
Funnily enough, in February of 2023, Jackbox released an update specifically making this game easier, moving a couple puzzles around and nerfing the difficulty, so it's a bit easier to 3-star every level. And if you're looking at this game and thinking, hey, this kind of sounds like keep talking and nobody explodes, you might be surprised to figure out that they released about a week apart from each other, which, hey, funny coincidence, a lot of bombs being defused in 2015. Corp has been one of my top 3 Jackbox games for a very long time. I can't tell you how much of a relief it is to find that it's not just some nostalgia blinding experience. There really is a charm in these party packs made before streaming and playing over the internet became such a wide focus for the company. I really hope this level of single-player quality is something that they can maintain, and yeah, that about sums up my feelings. I like trivia games. And Trivia Murder Party is one of my favorites to play with friends. It's always awesome to see the bullshit that can happen to anybody who didn't know about a niche topic, or getting to torture the only guy who doesn't know anything about Godzilla by cutting off one of their fingers. It's a survival game after all, but what happens when you're not trying to beat anybody? What TMP gives you is a series of 6 multiple choice questions in a gauntlet. Get them right and you move on like normal. Get them wrong, and you're taken to the killing room. You can't be put into the usual competition and vote rooms like Draw Me a Tattoo, one with the least votes dies, so it'll usually be a game of memory or a math challenge. The conclusion is also changed. In a normal game on the final floor, the last surviving player, or richest if everybody died, gets a category and 3 responses, the third option only being available to the ghosts. For each option you get right, you can move a space. The living player gets 1 question to further their lead, and then ghosts get to start answering too so they can steal their body and make it out alive. Everybody is racing against an ever-encroaching darkness that will consume any and all players it touches, and that moves 2 spaces each turn. You reach the final space, you escape with the body and win the game. Yippee. Here's how this changes in single player. You get 3 questions before the darkness appears, and from the start, you get all 3 options available to you. But here's what sinks it. The darkness now moves 3 spaces at a time, which means that at best, if you correctly identify which options belong to the category, you will keep pace with the darkness. Those first 3 questions are your only chance to get an advantage, so really make it count. It makes sense from a challenge perspective, especially since a lot of people are probably trying to ace all the questions and get a high score. I really don't understand why they'd make this change. Technically, the living player had to deal with only being able to answer the same amount of questions as the darkness moved, but that's because the ghosts needed a chance to catch up. It really doesn't make sense why you shouldn't be able to gain distance, like especially if you manage to absolutely whiff it on a question that you miraculously blew and choked on.
People Magazine's sexiest man alive in the night.
Oh,
Whoa,
shit.
everybody got that one wrong.
Oh god, I just needed to pick one of them. God damn it.
That alone would like drag it down, but be not necessarily bad, as it does make for an interesting challenge. But let me show you what happened when I tried to do a second run through. I got 3 questions in a row right, and then this happened.
And the correct answer is this.
Let's go.
Forget this. Come with me.
Oh god, really?
Welcome to the killing floor. It's loser wheel time.
Really?
For those of you who have never seen the loser wheel, it's just about the worst killing room to get. Heavily rigged against any player damned to cross that cursed doorway. I got 3 questions right and the game randomly decided I should die. The experience really made me reevaluate how I feel about Trivia Murder Party. I'll definitely still bring it out at parties, but this whole experience just isn't for me. I left a bad taste in my mouth, so to speak. So why don't we go to our first sequel game of the video for a bit of comfort food. Pack 5s. Skipping over Pack 4, we find ourselves returning to the namesake of the company, You Don't Know Jack, Full Stream. This game aims to parody streaming services, as seen by the Hulu-esque layout of recommendations in the main menu, and the game's repeated mention of their new parent company,
Binge Pipe.
but we've lost the option to play from our keyboard solo. You Don't Know Jack now supports up to 8 players like a standard Jackbox game tended to around this time, so that's pretty cool. You feel the progress Jackbox has made with their writing and graphics in this game, but there actually is a lot that's familiar with this version of You Don't Know Jack. Outside of the usual 4-answer multiple choice,
Would be the name of a web series where Jerry Seinfeld picks up different comics in a truck on the way to grabbing a fermented drink. Comedians in sailboats getting horchata, comedians in lorries getting kombucha, comedians in carriages getting kefir, or comedians in hot air balloons getting bubble tea.
we can see the return to question formats like Dis or Dat and Kangaroo, Peanut, Albert Einstein, or Uranus, now renamed to the equally silly
Next, Octopus Coffee, Queen Elizabeth, or Frankenstein.
Octopus, coffee, Queen Elizabeth, or Frankenstein. It's monster.
One of the new additions is the gibberish question, where you're given a mishmash of words that rhyme with a phrase and hints to what it is. I got lucky enough in this attempt to receive one I'd already seen in the past, so I was able to get it pretty quickly, but the game doesn't stop you from submitting an answer that's just wrong. I've seen my fair share of friends not understand the point of the question, submit gibberish of their own immediately, and then not get anything, thinking they figured it out, or just being confused, so maybe it could be explained a little bit better. After this game's 10-question run, though, we're brought to the brand new rendition of the Jack Attack. This time, you're given the topic and 6 things that might fit into it, revealed 2 at a time. You can gain or lose 100, 500, or 1,000 points based on how quickly you tap that answer. Anytime somebody does tap, their little number will flash up at the bottom of the screen, so if you're playing multiplayer, you can use it to your advantage. Following the Jack Attack, you get your final score and get to feel good about yourself for doing good, or cry about how much debt you're now in. Some of the rough charm of 2015's You Don't Know Jack is definitely lost here with the more modern aesthetic, but I think it's a fair trade-off for the quality that experience has brought to these games. Pack 5 really allowed them to experiment as what I'd call the first real special number pack after the first one. I mean, Madverse City and Patently Stupid are easy crowd favorites found in this one, which is why I'm not surprised that people don't really talk about the Overshadowed. I wish I had a better comparison about this, but it's literally just Angry Birds Squid Games. In Zeeple Dome, you play as little guys flinging yourselves around arena to kick alien butt. Take enough damage and you're dead. The controls are simple enough. Just drag your icon around the circle and let go to fling yourself in a direction. You can also pick up special power-ups or activate healing zones by flinging yourself towards them. You're usually going up against 3 different types of enemies who will occasionally go red and attack in a certain way. There's these little squid guys who shoot damaging orbs that bounce, bomb guys that blow up, and guys built like coat hangers who elbow drop into the ground. They'll charge up for a few seconds before launching their attacks, and doing this changes their color, so be on the lookout. If your little guy matches the color of that glow, landing a hit nets you a stun. Otherwise, you'll just make them attack sooner, so time your launches carefully. The game is structured as a gauntlet, meaning you can do consecutive runs to gain more money and earn more prizes before getting jettisoned into the deep vacuum of space. The game honestly feels like kind of a guilty pleasure to me. Was it the most fun I've had making this video? Not really, but it was entertaining enough for me to want to stick through to the end of the gauntlet. Just as a solo experience, it feels like a diamond in the rough that I can see myself playing again every so often. Now that Pack 5 is covered, there's only one more single player experience left before the 2-pack break that is 7 and 8. But I'm glad I can finally leave the first half of the series behind, back in the fucking building again. Trivia Murder Party 2. Not only is it the second last Trivia Murder Party, it's also the second last sequel game on this list.
Second and last. Why did I write it like that?
There's not much to say about TMP2 that I didn't already say during Pack 3. If there is something good I can say, it's nice to see mini-games like pegs and skewers in rotation, where you'd normally be going against the living players. Outside of the new killing rooms though, not much has changed. Same question format, same finale with the same single-player darkness speed, but with the added, you have to get all 3 options right to escape mechanic that this game introduced. Trivia Murder Party 2. It's the second one. Objectively, it's an improvement with more up-to-date questions than the first game, but given the survival mechanics, I still wouldn't recommend this to somebody who's trying to get a fun mono-player experience. It really just doesn't hold up. You need extra people to really make it fun. But this is something I'm very glad I'd never say about. Pack 9 is a very interesting mixed bag of games, but undeniably Quicksort is my favorite in the pack. Typically what you'd get is a team-based game where both sides take turns organizing objects in a list, like how close we are to cataclysmic events. You place these down in the order you think they're in, from soonish to long after we are dead, and the game gives you points based on how close you were to each item's correct position on that list, as well as if you are able to get consecutive items in a streak. The single player experience, however, comes with Quicksort Forever, a collaborative effort where misplaced items crystallize, jamming up the conveyor belt for future questions. You can clear these crystals by getting good streaks in subsequent questions, as demonstrated here by me absolutely choking what should have been a super simple answer.
God.
Start to dun dun.
Late night TV talk shows. Don't fail me now. I'm gonna put that right in the middle. Oh, I might have gotten this mixed up slightly. District attorneys who prosecute that. Okay. I think I mixed up the police and the who investigated, but I'm pretty sure I got everything else correct. Yeah, I mixed those 2 up.
After 2 rounds here, fake options start getting added in that you need to throw out lest they mess up your streaks. You keep going until you're unable to place any more blocks. It's not too complicated, kind of Tetris-y in a way, so take a second to enjoy what has to be some of the best credits music in any of these games. Quicksort is a genuine delight with a silly name and a really fun mechanic, not to mention a soundtrack that matches that energy. The last 2 games on this list, just like the first and the 5th, are part of the same pack, and I want to end on an easy contender for my #1 favorite game, not just as a single player experience, but in all the packs. So let's take a quick break to talk about Do you know when things happened? Well, do I have a game for you. Time Jinx is a pretty simple game where you're given events and a time frame of the years that happened between. During this, your goal is to guess the year that it happened as closely as you can to actual history, with every year you're off getting added to your score. In a multiplayer setting, you go off of golf rules. Lowest score wins, but here you're just playing for pride. These timeline questions are broken up with special rounds. Here's where you see stuff like the time hop, where you're given a decade and you have to identify which option is from said decade. Or you have to identify the evil imposter of a historical figure by choosing the thing that actually happened between the two options. When you get these special questions right, your score gets reduced by a certain percentage, which is great as a catch-up mechanic if you've gotten things wrong on a question with a really wide range of years. All this ends up being capped off with a feature question that requires a bit more thinking, but usually will involve something that happens on an anniversary. You've got to add 100 or 1,000 or whatever they specify to your answer to match the prompt, but if you get close, you're rewarded with one final point reduction, up to 50% if you manage to nail the year the game is looking for. Time Jinx is a perfectly acceptable Jackbox game. It's fun and an interesting challenge to test your knowledge of when history happened. In the right friend group, I can definitely see it being a hit, but there's enough charm in the announcer and presentation to keep me entertained for practice round on my own. But if you want a game with some mass appeal, allow me to talk about my favorite. I love rhythm games. I like rhythm games. DoDo Re Mi has stolen my heart as an incredibly fun yet challenging game. Solo experiences are something I've wanted more of from Jackbox for a while, and this game is exactly why. A lot of Jackbox's material is definitely party game material, but this is just pure rhythm game with some Jackbox silliness sprinkled in. After selecting a song, you choose one of a variety of instruments that determine your beat map, indicated by the part being named and the color of the text. After a quick sync up to help people playing over the internet, all the gameplay happens on your phone with notes sliding from the top of your screen, kinda like in a Guitar Hero. Hit them to the beat and try not to blow your combo. After all said and done, everybody's attempts are compiled and you get to hear the wacky nonsense you've collectively chirped. And if everybody's hit enough notes, you get to survive. You even get to save your replays once you end the session. Now, if you're this far into the video, you're probably here for the long haul, so indulge me for a moment as I share with you one of this game's many fantastic melodies, the credits song.
The forest where prying eyes can't see, far along the twisted branch of evolution's tree, live two peculiar species in a plot to do with death, a breathtaking concert with more drama than Macbeth. Birds known for singing songs with rich harmonic well. One note from this pretty bird makes parrots hate themselves. And then a predatory plant, its teeth are rather pokey. This plant also has perfect pitch and a love for karaoke. Dodo Ray Mi, survival is a maybe. Sing your heart out and you might live through. Dodo Ray Mi, these birds are looking tasty. Miss those notes and you'll become plant food. The birds feed the hungry plant with songs of every type, filling up with notes that taste immaculately ripe. And if their mimic tones sound sour when the music ends, the plant opens its toothy mouth and eats our feathered friends. But why they sing is a mystery unknown. Like, is there a Bigfoot? Where did my socks go? If there's a lesson from this predatory doom, nature can be beautiful, but it's always cruel. Dodo Ray Mi, survival is a maybe. Sing your heart out and you might live through. Dodo Ray Mi, these birds are looking tasty. Miss those notes and you'll become plant food. Dodo Ray Mi, survival is a maybe. Sing your heart out and you might live through. Dodo Ray Mi, these birds are looking tasty. Miss those notes and you'll become plant food. Dodo Ray Mi, survival is a maybe. Sing your heart out and you might live. nuts and you'll become plant food.
If I had to rank the games from worst to best single player experience, it's not too hard, really. Swatter, Trivia Murder Party, and Trivia Murder Party 2 are all in a tier I'll call I will actively avoid doing that again. Are they terrible games on their own? Trivia Murder Parties aren't, but there's really something about the single player experience that is just lacking. Again, with the weird changes TMP makes, I can't really recommend it as a solo experience. You Don't Know Jack 2015, Full Stream, Time Jinx, and Zeeple Dome are in a perfectly acceptable tier. Like, they're not bad. They're absolutely not bad, and they're perfectly fine. Interesting, even. Slightly frustrating, but, you know, I might go back to them once or twice if I'm feeling interested in it, but they're alright. Without question, it is Corp, Quicksort, and DoDo Re Mi at the top as some of the most fun I've had playing Jackbox just on my own. Because they're like games. Even then, Quicksort is a trivia game, but they're just fun games with also really good music backing them. Like, they're really perfect storms that I think are underrated. If you've missed out on any of these experiences, I really recommend giving them a try yourself. Or, hey, bug one of your friends who owns the pack and hasn't opened in a while. These games are just as fun, if not more, with a group of buddies that you can just hang out with for a while. Oh, that's why they're called Party Packs.